Warning. This program contains strong language, auditory violence, and mental nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to your uncensored home for World of Warcraft news and opinions. This is Unshackled Fury.
The Chrome King has fallen. The Undermine rebuild has begun. And it's time to break down what it all means before our next adventure begins. So welcome back for episode 161 of your uncensored home for World of Warcraft news and opinions, Unshackled Fury. I'm your host, Berzerker, and with me once again is the man who puts the stun into stunner, Mr. Jez Corden. Welcome back again, good sir.
Hey, dude. It's good to be back. Oh man, it's been a rough week or so. I've been sick and I've had COVID. So well, I think it's COVID. I mean, we don't really bother doing tests anymore, right? I got some kind of flu.
No.
So you know, I apologize for my voice and I'll try and mute the coughing and stuff like that. But yeah, it's good to be here. Good to be back in the saddle, so to speak.
Good to have you, and you're soldiering on for the good of the cinema that we are here to create. And
Yes.
as we've discussed many times, and you may know, because like myself, you are a wrestling aficionado. Today is March 16th, making it 316 Day, which is sort of like the unofficial Stone Cold Steve Austin Day. And so go out there and, I don't know, stun the neighbor if you haven't done so already. But but you are back after a bit of a vacation, and you're unfortunately paying the price. You're sick now, but how was Hawaii? How did it treat you?
Oh man, Hawaii was excellent. You know, we saw whales. Girlfriend went shark cage diving. You know, we fit in a lot in the 2 weeks we were there, so it was really, really cool. I was immensely seasick though when we were doing the shark cage diving, because I was like, you can go in the shark cage, or I ain't going in no shark cage. So I let her deal with that, and then so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be nice and safe up on this boat. But like being on the boat by myself, oh man, I got so seasick. I've never been so sick in my life, even like after drinking, like mixing drinks and spirits and stuff. So that was fun. I also slipped over in the shower and nearly broke my wrist.
Oh no!
So I took a beating on this vacation, bro.
Yeah.
I took a bit of a beating, and then I emerged from Hawaii with some kind of flu/COVID kind of thing. So you know, it's kind of typical, right?
Oh boy!
But yeah, it was amazing. You know, it was a really, really cool time. And then I got back in earnest, and then had a nice vacation to Undermine to look forward to.
There it is. You needed a vacation from your vacation. And
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah.
You're giving me a lot of hope, because as I've mentioned before, I am now taking the baton from you and heading back out to the islands myself here in a week's time. So I will try not to slip in the shower. We will be whale watching though, although I typically don't get seasick. It's a pretty good time. That whale watching's insane. If you ever get a chance to get out there on a boat and kind of float around with some whales, it's humbling to see these things up close ish. But yeah, with that being said, we will have a bit of an extended break between this episode and our next full episode. But there may be something in between here and there, as there's some rumblings of some things, and so I may be able to jump in real quick, get something on real quick, depending on how things play out. But we'll be here. Before we get to our metal album of the week, Jez, I wanted to drop something on our listeners. This is not Warcraft related, so feel free to complain to whoever, people. Complain to Reddit, or I don't know. Nobody cares enough to write about this show, but you can complain in the Discord, I suppose. Recently, I have stumbled upon, there's all, a million documentaries out there about all kinds of things, anything that you're interested in. There's probably a documentary about it. And I recently came across on Amazon Prime, through their Prime Video stuff, a 4-part documentary series about RoboCop called RoboDoc. And it is quite honestly one of the best, if not the best, documentaries I've ever seen about a show or a movie or anything, because they got everybody from all the actors, all the main actors, the director, the sound guys, the production guys, the producers, like they got everybody. And the loving way in which all of this is put together, from like the themes and the intros and the graphics and all of it around the production of it, is absolutely wonderful. And then to find out that Peter Weller, RoboCop himself, like took it as seriously as like it like what it means to me, that like he took it that seriously and still does to this day, about the journey of RoboCop and the humanity and the triumph of the soul that is Murphy / RoboCop. It is one of the greatest things I've ever watched. So if you've not heard of it, if you have this available to you, highly recommend going out there and watching RoboDoc. It is the greatest love letter to RoboCop that there could possibly be. And I'm just laughing when I watch it at how, like, I'm giddy. It's just like somebody went into my brain and was like, yes, all of these things have meaning and satire about corporate control and all of the stuff like back in the 80s that they were talking about. And Reagan's 80s is like, oh my God, it's still, if not more prevalent today than it was then. Like, oh shit, it's good stuff. And knowing that the people who made it love it and loved it then as much as I do and others do, it's meaningful. So that wasn't just another project. So anyway,
you make me want to go and watch it again.
It's so badass. Like, it holds up so fucking well. Like, yeah, there's some stuff that's like, well, they had to cut some corners, but like overall, that suit holds up. So
when I was a kid, right? This is just briefly. Like, when I was a kid, we watched. I saw RoboCop that was broadcast on the BBC, right? And I didn't realize this at the time, but it was aired at like, I don't know. It was aired before Watershed, the recording we had. So like it was on at like 7 p.m. or 6 p.m. or something like that. And the BBC had like censored tons of scenes to meet that Watershed, right? So like the sort of, the bit where they're blowing Murphy away with guns and stuff. That's sort of like, that happens, but it's like the camera's cut away, right? You don't really see it. And then so like I had a different version of RoboCop in my head, and then I watched it like some years later, like on a different channel or DVD or something like that. And there was so much extra footage that I hadn't seen before. I was like, what? This is not the RoboCop I remember. And then I remember the thing that shocked me the most was when I think his name's Emil. Yeah. He gets he gets sort of flooded by this vat of chemical, soup. And then melted alive. And it was like, oh my God, that is crazy. And that was not in the first one I saw. So I was like, I got to enjoy a sort of first time RoboCop experience twice.
Nice. That's and it's one of the things that it's like most famous for, was at the time, was it originally had what we used to have was an X rating. They call it NC-17 now, but it had an X rating because of the violence, because of the scene where Murphy is tortured and killed, and like his hand getting blown off and his arm getting blown off, and like it's like really sinister, gruesome stuff. And
it's disturbing. It's like there's not many movies that show like sort of graphic group torture like that. Really, when you think about it, even to this day, it's quite a rare thing to see. So
heinous.
It was awful, but also obviously very poor to the plot,
Well, yeah, And there was another scene, the one where the guy, when they first unveil the Ed 209 and they're up in the conference room and the guy gets blown away and like
yeah, man, God.
in the like unedited, super unedited, the original cut version was that like it just kept pumping him full of bullets, and so his body's just like pop, 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 pop. There's just like shit coming out of him, and they explain like how they did that, and like that's what's great about this documentary is they go into the process of all of this stuff. Emil getting melted by the toxic waste and then getting hit by the car and he just like explodes, and all of this. I mean, they go through the movie scene by scene by scene, and they break down how they came down to doing everything and all of that stuff they talked about, all the political stuff, all the editing stuff. It's because it's held up so well in so many ways, and it is ultra violent, and like if you see the whatever full version is, it's crazy. So anyway, there's your detour for the day. Robo Doc, everybody, that's the one. All right, metal album of the week. We're gonna go back to May 8th, 2001, and you may have heard of this band. I don't know. They've been around. They've since disbanded. They are not actively a band anymore. But Swedish power metal band Falconer released their self-titled album. I think they call it Falconer. Back in 2001. It's one of the best power metal albums of all time. It's been ranked by people, so I'm not just saying this. Other people are saying this. But it has the song that got me on this sort of track to get this on this episode today. There's a song called Lord of the Blacksmiths. And just thinking about, some of the iconography of War Within and the, dwarves and the big, machines that they're working on and all the blacksmithing stuff that they're doing. That made me think of it. But all the way through, track 1 through track 10, these are very listenable songs. Is kind of understating it a little bit, but it's a good like 1 through 10 album listen all the way through. It's not like, there's 2 songs that are good and the rest of them are shit. This one's pretty solid all the way through. If you like this style of metal, this is, it's quintessential in that vein. And so I was jamming it this week. The old ladies in front of the grocery store, they did not like this one being blared out the windows of my vehicle, so that secured that it was going to be this week's metal album. The stink eye from the old ladies guarantees a placement on the agenda. So for you this week, Falconer, Swedish metal band, self-titled album, Falconer from 2001. That is the one I want you to go out there and listen to this week. All right. Well, let's jump into a rage topic that if you listen to my appearance over on Live, Laugh, Lore just recently with our friend Allie, thanks again for having me. You may have heard me talk about this already, but since this is my show, well, God damn it, we got to get out here and talk about it. So let's get into it.
Let's rage.
So we'll get to all of the goodness that is Undermine. And yes, I said goodness. Here in a little bit. But one of the things that immediately was problematic for me was just the overwhelming scale of all the stuff that we had once Undermine went live. And like you're in there and there's just question marks or exclamation points and there's a big green arrow over my head telling me what to do. Like there's all kinds of stuff just telling me I got all these million things to do. So I had to focus on one thing only to get me through and kind of like, okay, this is how I'm going to organize myself. And that was the main quest line. All right, I'm going to follow Gazlo. I'm just going to like do what he says and we'll follow this quest line and all this stuff. And I was, spoiler alert, enjoying myself, going through it. We're getting through, okay, chapters. We got 6 chapters. We're banging through. Let's see how this ends. I wonder how this is going to go on. And then we get to the end of chapter 4 and the longest conversation between 2 goblins ever when Gazlo's trying to be convinced of, things. And we had to wait. We had to wait a week, as it turns out, to get the final chapters of this. And in between the time when I finished chapter 4 and I could continue on in that quest line, I was ducking spoilers like Apollo Creed was ducking Rocky's punches. I was slipping and I was moving and I was turning off social media and I was closing browser tabs. I was doing all kinds of stuff to stay away from the spoilers that I knew were going to come. And I know why Blizzard did it. I get why they did it, but I mean, golly, you can't expect us to avoid all spoilers. I know I did, but it took a Herculean effort to do it. You gotta give it all right out the gate. You can't make us wait. No, don't make us wait. Never make us wait. We can't be made to wait as players. I mean, maybe there's some good reasons, but I'm telling you this time, you had to give it all right up front, because otherwise I would have found out what happened to Gallywix, what was going on with this that we're going to talk about later. Like, oh, it was like a full-time job trying to duck all these spoilers. And, I did get some exercise out of all of that bobbing and weaving, but I understand Jez didn't have this problem. So maybe I should have just gone on vacation early and just skip that whole first week anyway, and then it wouldn't have been a problem. Was that the solution, Jess? Should I just go on vacation the first week that any patch comes out?
Well, hey, I mean, that's basically what I did, right? Because when I came back from Hawaii, it was all there. So, because I was a week late, right? So I was like, I had no idea it was gated. So I just, I literally, as we were discussing doing the show in the pre-show, I just rolled the last cutscene for the campaign. So I was like, hey, that's fortuitous. That's a good timing.
Yes.
So no, it doesn't bother me.
Well, there you go. There you go.
There's a
Blizzard.
solution. Just go to Hawaii while you're waiting for the time gating. Easy.
Once again, Unshackled Fury finding solutions to all of your modern problems. There it is. Well, next time I'll have to make sure to go on vacation, so I'll try to plan something in the summertime, which shouldn't be too hard whenever 11.2 comes out. So, all right. Enough of that nonsense. We got a lot of great stuff to talk about, so why don't we go ahead and jump into our news. Like I said, this is our first chance to talk about Undermine, since we were together here, Jez, you and I. We talked about what it was going to be, what we thought it might be, kind of the vibe of the whole thing. Being the goblin aficionado that you are, certainly I think this spoke to you in certain ways. So I'm gonna kick it over to you first as the resident goblin purveyor. How did you like the Undermine journey, the story, the zones, the quests, any and all of it? How did you enjoy or not enjoy your journey?
I'm currently drafting an article for Windows Central that's sort of the title's something like Blizzard just quietly had its best mid-expansion patch ever.
Ooh.
And I'm a little biased being a goblin for the last, when did Cataclysm come out? 15 years ago, something like that? I'm a little biased.
Been about 14 years, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Little biased, maybe. I've been a goblin for over a decade. So it's nice to, fully get a patch dedicated to goblins, and there's been some amazing goblin content in the game, over the years. Obviously, Cataclysm itself being one of them. Kezan, I remember when Kezan came out, there was nothing like it in the game. You had the cars, the crazy, wacky, sort of grungy kind of goblin cities and stuff. And being a city kid that grew up in a city that scarily similar to Kezan and Undermine, it kind of resonates in a unique way, right, for me. So it's been really cool to experience just, I suppose, what you could in a way call a remaster of Kezan in essence, because it's got a lot of similar themes, right? It's the city, it's the filth, the grunginess, the back alley dealings, the cartels competing, all that kind of shit, right? It's literally like exactly what Kezan was like, right down to having this vehicle, but everything's like taken to the next level. So obviously the vehicle in Kezan couldn't drift, couldn't accelerate, had no kind of sense of physics.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, the vehicle engine, they added it for siege weapons, when they did Winter Grasp in Wrath of Lich King. That whole system, that was kind of like what that was from. And so like this is kind of like the next stage of all that kind of effort, and I suppose it ties into flying and adding physics to flying and stuff. So at first I was like, this drifted stuff, I don't get it. But like after a bit of practice, it's like I'm drifting all over the place.
Yeah.
I'm loving it, I think it's awesome doing the races, and it feels really good. I'm like shocked at how good it feels, to drive a car around in World of Warcraft of all things, right? So I think they've really nailed that. But then, obviously, I think the crowning achievement of this mid-expansion patch is that I always found myself really engaged with the story. I think, like, a lot of the time, when we play through expansions, the midpoint in the expansion is often a bit of a low point. I'm thinking of things like Korthia from... is that how it pronounced? Korthia? From Shadowlands, right? Where Sylvanas was the raid. That patch was absolutely abysmal. It was just terrible, right?
Brutal.
It was brutally bad in every regard. So I kind of feel like this kind of, continues Blizzard's sort of consistency, and like in Dragonflight we had, I can't remember what the cave was called now off the top of my head, but there was a big ass cave they added in the middle of Dragonflight, which I thought again was a pretty good patch, like with the mole people and all that kind of stuff. And the cave,
Zeralek Cavern.
Zeralek Cavern, yeah. So that was an important patch for their new cave environment streaming technology. Where they're like they can stream in entire new areas without a loading screen, right? And that's something like Blizzard couldn't do in the past, right? So it's kind of like, that was an important patch from a technological perspective, but it was also like a good patch overall, I think, from a gameplay perspective. But I suppose one of the weaker aspects of that was the story wasn't particularly good, in my opinion. I didn't really care about the characters or the villain, and I didn't really care about the I can't remember his name, the Drakthir dude we had to kill at the end. But at the same time, it was kind of like...
Farak?
No, before Farak. The Zeralek Kevin... Yeah, you can't even remember his name. He was a Drakthir, but I also I accept the fact that like that whole expansion was about establishing Drakthir lore and all that kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. So I appreciate that's the way it kind of had to be. And also that patch gave us the Dark Heart, which obviously is very important now in the story. So that was kind of like it was decent, but it wasn't like exciting for me, I think. But like as a Goblin player, and someone who a Goblin Gazlo main in Heroes of the Storm as well. Seeing like all this stuff come together for me personally, this has been like the best mid-expansion patch I think ever for me.
Nice.
I think like the only like competing kind of things I can think of is stuff like stuff they were doing in Legion and back then like Blizzard was hitting a quality bar that we haven't seen for a long time now, and I kind of feel like we're back to that sort of Legion sort of abundance of content, systems, story delivery, cutscenes, and pretty big story beats, and I suppose we'll get into spoilers in a bit, but just to give you a spoiler warning here if you haven't finished it yet. When we talk about spoilers later on, there's some pretty major events that happen in that with characters that, as a Horde player, I'm not particularly familiar with. But even within that sort of like small quite dense story delivery, I found myself moved by the events of some of these Alliance characters that I hadn't really interacted with before as a Horde player. So I was just kind of like, it's just kind of what it feels like to me is like Blizzard is so back right now. Like some of the previous efforts, like with regards to story delivery, you know, trying new things and new systems, and the quality bar they're putting together, I think for these patches is like, it's become consistent. It's not like Dragonflight was a one-off. It's like this is how they're working now. This is the bar that they're trying to maintain, and I think they're, you know, doing a pretty great job of it so far. You know, I mean, obviously it's not perfect. Nothing's perfect ever, but you know, for example, I kind of feel, I worry again with the whole goblin stuff, that they're taking the bite out of the goblins a little bit. You know, they're trying to make them fluffy and nice. You know, like I think they've done a bit of that with all the Horde races, like even the Forsaken. It's like you're trying to make the Forsaken nice. You know, this is not what goblins are supposed to be. They're supposed to be like, you know, rough around the edges a bit. You know, they don't have to be evil per se, but don't make them fluffy and cute and nice, please. I don't want to be like that, you know.
Yeah.
I still want to like blow people up and, you know. So like it continues that trend of like defanging the Horde, I suppose, in some ways, which you know I'm sort of not super happy about, but that's a me thing, right? Overall, I really enjoyed it, and I'm really sort of excited for where they're going to take the story next.
Well,
but how did you feel? We know you're we know you're upset about the gating of the story, but let's put that to one side. How do you feel? How are you feeling right now?
I'll put that aside for now, because you know, I obviously have played through the rest of it. I've seen it all now, so it's kind of a moot point. But came in obviously not the biggest fan of this whole thing. I was like, goblins, I don't know, kind of irritating, grates on me a little bit, you know, but going in blind, essentially.
Really feel, damn.
Yeah, I know. I had no real expectation, I guess, and once I started playing through the quest line, before I was even in Undermine, when I was still in Ringing Deeps and I was just working with Gazlo, I got it. I understood immediately what we were doing and what this was. This was an old Hollywood gangster film. That is what we were about to play through, was mobs and just like the old, like dudes hanging off a old car with a Tommy gun, like that kind of vibe. Because first, the music brought it. Which, by the way, if you are digging the jazzy tunes of Undermine, they do have on the official World of Warcraft YouTube, it's 26 minutes, all the tracks from Undermine. So if you want to go and plug that into your daily listening somewhere, they do have that available, so you can do that. But listening to the music and kind of following the quest as it was going on, I immediately understood the vibe that they were going for, and I was all in. And I found myself laughing several times. I'm like, I cannot believe I'm enjoying this as much as I am, because I've never been about the goblins. I'm about it now. Like, let's go get this dude. Let's go get Gallywix. Let's free Undermine. Let's unite the cartels. Like, I'm like, I love the car. And I told this to Allie. Maybe it's because driving the car for me in Cyberpunk is a lot like driving the car in Undermine. So like the transition was very natural for me. So like I had never had any problem with the car. I love it. I think it's great. I need to get more customization options for it, quite frankly, but I'm digging it. And you know, first they brought us in right with the cinematic right away, with Gallywix coming in and has his goons smoke underbite, you know, showing off these black blood weapons, and like, all right, he's got the guy, you know, he's got the guns, he's got all the juice, and now we're gonna have to try to, you know, get everybody to fight back and to unite against this force. By the way, were you disappointed that the Ethereals were not the secret cartel and it was Blackview's?
I mean, that didn't really register with me until you
Okay.
just said it now.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. That didn't bother me so much, but
Okay.
I suppose there's been some discourse about that, maybe.
I mean, basically because you started it, and then I jumped on it. And I was like, yes, I am all in on this. And then it turned out, no, it was not it. But you know, getting to know all of these places, all of these characters, going through the storyline, learning how to figure out the green arrow above my head and like what to do and how to turn it off, because I couldn't turn it off at one point. So I learned how to do that. Watching who was this? Watching a real life build. If you haven't seen this, also on the World of Warcraft YouTube page, they had a team from Big Time. Don't know who that is, but okay. They built a real life goblin car. Like they built a real life version. Yes.
Oh my god, I haven't seen this. That's crazy.
And well, it doesn't look like too many people did either, because it only has like 67,000 views, which I was kind of like surprised how low that was. I don't know if they just missed the social media post or something somewhere. It looks so legit, and they did such a phenomenal job when they put like a little skit together and made them up as goblins and stuff, and they're tearing ass around in this thing because the chassis, the base of it, is a real hot rod, and then they built this whole like apparatus around it to make it look like the goblin car, and it is phenomenal. They did such a great fucking job. So it's like all of this kind of stuff, right, coming together, and it really got me in the right mindset. So playing through the quest line, the whole campaign, I loved it. And the zone has grown on me. You know, going down there and banging out quests and doing my dailies, and it's a solid zone. There's so much more you feel like they can also continue to do with it over time. I mean, the place is like a giant playground, and you could, you know, the story might be concluded, but you can use that space ad nauseum.
You could use that space for a new starting zone for goblins, maybe.
Well,
you remember my conspiracy theory?
Back to your campaign on all these new starting zones. That is one of the thoughts I had too. Is I'm like, man, Jez might be right. This would be a hell of a new starting zone for a goblin, because now it's maybe defanged, but it's a safer place perhaps for a newer player. I do understand what you mean about them being softer, more palatable to a wider audience perhaps, but I have a feeling there'll still be plenty of explosions and crazy stuff going on. But we do get to the end. We do get into the Galagio. We do get through the raid. I've played through it on Raid Finder and what I can on story mode at the end. I've enjoyed it. I think the fights are fun. It's a great environment, going through Undermine, going through the whole gimmick. And then eventually, you know, getting to Gallywix and taking him down. And so leading up to the fight itself, as an active raider for you, Jez, what are your impressions of the raid?
So, yeah, we cleared normal mode very, very quickly. So I suppose one of the things that I kind of started to notice is that normal mode is now basically super easy mode. I kind of feel like they want normal mode to be something you could easily do in a pug, I kind of think. Feel like. I'm sorry, choking on my phlegm here.
That's all right.
So I kind of feel like they've gotten to that point with normal mode where it's like we want it to be something people can very, very easily pug, and you know, without you know, if LFR's like the brainless mode, where you just jump in and you don't even want to really need to think to do it. Like,
yeah,
normal mode's now the next step up for that, where it's like, you know, I suppose like a Mythic +0, where it's like I can play with randoms, but again, just do the sort of bare minimum, and there's a lot of room for error. Like I went into Undermine this time because obviously I'd just gotten back from Hawaii, and I hadn't had time to read the tactics or anything. So like I just kind of like, if anyone from my guilds listened to this, yeah, I did not read any of the tactics. Sorry, Peace Moon. I hadn't got a clue what I was doing, and I just I was able to just fake my way through the raid. Generally speaking, I did die a couple of times. Although one of the times I died was because because I've got Goblin rocket boots bound to scroll wheel down.
Oh.
And I sort of Goblin rocket booted. I was trying. Well, okay, so I've got
That's
like
a pro move.
Yeah, I've got I got Goblin rocket boots bound to scroll down, but I've also got my demonic tyrant bound to mouse scroll wheel click. So I was trying to pop my demonic tyrant in a panic, to hit like a burst window, and then accidentally scrolled down to my rocket boots, and ended up rocking booting off the edge of Galliwix's platform and dying right at the start of the fight, which was hilariously embarrassing. Nice. But generally speaking, I didn't need to read any of the tactics, which is a little bit crazy. I think that you can go through normal mode and also all the way through to Galliwix himself, and just kind of fake through the tactics, because they're either tactics that you've seen before, or there's just a huge amount of room for error. So the debate on how easy normal mode should or shouldn't be, I mean, that's to one side, right? We are going through heroic now, which is, you know, kind of like the bar me and my guild kind of gun for. We go for ahead of the curve every season, and then we kind of take a break. You know, super kind of hardcore casual, I suppose you could call it. Or maybe not even hardcore, but I suppose organized casual, I suppose you could call it. So we go for ahead of the curve and then we take a break. So, but heroic definitely feels like the difficulty that you'd more expect. I think we got to like the third boss now with only 2 weeks of gear. Obviously, I was coming into the raid with whatever gear I had from the last patch.
Yeah.
So I think overall it's been like a really, really great raid. You know, like thematically speaking, the music's amazing. Galliwix's music's amazing. Like I haven't really experienced the true mechanics yet, because, you know, obviously I said normal mode is very, very easy.
Yeah.
But the design of the fights are so cool and so interesting. There's also like a couple of new animation models, you know, and one of the things that I've, you know, you notice in WoW over the years is that like they recycle models a lot, you know, and skeletons and stuff like that, because you know, because of course they do, because all games do that, right? But like WoW's like got 20 years of animation rigs to draw upon, so it's become a little bit rare that we actually see fully new models, right? But Undermine's got like a few of them, you know. So there's that whole vending machine monster, which is like, that's a completely new model, right? Like how could they do a vending machine monster there hasn't been a vending machine monster in the game?
You got me.
That I could think of, yeah. So that's like a completely new model. And then there's like Gazlo's model, which, you know, I think he's probably based on couple of the other models, but the fact that like his model sort of interlocks with the other model, all that kind of stuff, like it's really well done. So like, even though I think it is basically Mimiron's head mixed with
that's totally what I thought.
Yeah, mixed with one of the other robotic models. But it looks so different, and it does have a couple of new moves. Like, even though I think the base of it is Mimiron's head, like the wind up sort of attack that he does, Mimiron did not do that. So like there's been quite a lot of surprises in this raid, which sort of adds to its theme. Like, so again, bias cause Goblin, I suppose, but I think this is probably my favorite raid in years and years and years and years. I think
nice.
I absolutely adore this raid, and I'm rocking awesome transmog. You know, I've been doing PvP to get the PvP transmog colors, and I'm just buzzing, man. I just love this patch. It's just perfect. Awesome. I think every patch should be Goblin themed. What do you think about that?
You know, even if they did that, I'd still probably pay my yearly subscription. So I guess they could. I don't know. I don't know how popular it would be with everybody, but you know, high praise from you certainly for this raid and this patch. And you know, again, kind of to echo what you said, the raid so far that I've seen has been fun. The race to world first, that was going on up until last night, and Liquid won, I think, in less than 100 polls, which is kind of surprising. And Echo pulled up second. Method doesn't have their last kill yet, so they're looking to pull up third. So, you know, again, kind of the same few crew. I keep waiting for that Dark Horse to come out and claim the top spot that isn't just using exploits and getting banned, because that did happen. But maybe next time we'll figure something out. So, so here we are. We've gone through the campaign, and we've gone through the raid, and we've defeated Gallywix, and now it's going to be all spoilers all the time right now. So you have to pause this one here. If this isn't your spot to listen to it. But we defeat Gallywix, and we see just sort of like the in-game character models, basically a little sort of in-game cinematic play where Gallywix is not dead. He falls out of his machine and whatever, and then we see it fall over eventually on top of him, insinuating that he is dead. And we do see like and I think it was an arm or something that's laying there. Are we sure that he's dead?
Dude, there's no way he's dead.
Okay.
I'm like looking at that shit and thinking, there's no way he's dead. Here's what I think. I think the Ethereals took him. So like the big twist in this storyline. Well, there's a few twists actually, but the big twist for the overarching plot is that the Ethereals, the Void Ethereals, took the Dark Heart, and Gallywix assumed they were working for Xal'atath, but then Xal'atath,
as did I. Yes.
Yeah. So I was just kind of like, that's not Xal'atath's MO, and that dude is not working for Xal'atath. I kind of sensed it. That was
you knew
that way. Yeah. So I suppose the assumption is they're Koreshi dudes, and obviously Koresh is a planet that was destroyed by the Void Lords, and maybe these dudes are presumably looking to use the Dark Heart to get vengeance on the Void Lords or something like that. Maybe they've got a grander plan, I don't know, but it seems like they've got similar goals to us, but they don't want to work with us for whatever reason. I wouldn't blame them really. But so they took the Dark Heart, and Xal'atath leaves Gallywix to us, and we don't necessarily kill him. Like Monty Gazlo is kind of like, come on Gallywix, you know, we defeated you, because how many times we've defeated Gallywix a bunch of times. You fought. He's a boss in fucking Kezan when you, for example, he's the last boss of Kezan when you know, as a young goblin, you're defeating Gallywix then too, and then it's like. And then Gallywix is kind of like, okay, I'll be nice now, you know. So part of me's thinking like, he ain't dead. I think he's kind of been. This is a guess, right? It's a total guess. I think the Ethereals, maybe they whisked him away because they need his help a little bit more with the Dark Heart. Because Gallywix is obviously a engineer in his own right, I suppose, and he was the one who was working on fixing up the Dark Heart or whatever. So maybe they took him away or something again, but I kind of feel like, at least until Blizzard says otherwise, the fact that we don't actually see his body, we just assume he's been squished underneath the falling mech that he had. Yeah. Part of me's kind of like, is he really dead? You know? But maybe we're overthinking it a bit, and maybe Blizzard will just come out and put the I don't know, just put the kibosh on the speculation. Maybe they should have been a little bit more. If they wanted us to think he was dead, maybe they should have, you know, added a blood splatter or something. Because like one of the cool things about the raid is like the first boss is like this mech. It's like, it looks like a customized Alliance steam tank, that's been sort of given a Mad Max makeover. But when it spawns, if you're standing near it, it will squish you into bloody chunks and leave you a strewn, gory mess on the floor. Maybe they should have added that if they wanted us to really believe Gallywix was dead.
Yes.
But there's nothing like that. But you have to assume, though, they're not going to leave Gallywix's mech just lying around in the Galagio, right? Surely they're going to tidy it up. And then surely Gazlo Ect would know if there was a squished Gallywix under there. I would have thought. So maybe we are overthinking it. Because, you know, I kind of feel like if his body wasn't there, Gazlo would know. And they'll just end up having to explain that away. It's like, why didn't they say that his body wasn't there before, you know? Yeah. So maybe we're overthinking it a little bit. But my headcanon is that he's still alive because I like Gallywix and I wouldn't mind seeing him redeemed in some way, maybe. Yeah. Because what has he done, really? He hasn't done anything that's super bad. He's kind of like, you know, he's made some dodgy business deals. He's like a white-collar criminal at the end, sort of. I mean, kind of a white-collar criminal. But there's people in the Horde who've done way worse things than Gallywix.
True.
And they're either good guys or they've had community service like Sylvanas, you know. So at worst, Gallywix should maybe be in jail. But it's not like the Horde has, from what I could tell, a defied legal system for white-collar crime. So,
yeah.
I mean, a lot of people have died because of Gallywix, potentially. But at the same time, it's like, is he that bad? You know, I don't know. So, like, the Gallywix is someone I could see getting redeemed in some kind of way. Like, maybe he sees there of his ways and starts a goblin charity or something. I don't know, but his son, Rosebud Gallywix, who I'd never heard of until the end of the patch, he's taken over the Galagio now, and apparently Rosebud Gallywix is not as bad as Gaster Gallywix. Why is his name Rosebud though? He's got a cowboy hat on and shit. That's hilarious. But it seems he's taken over Gallywix's empire, or what's left of it. And then the trade princes have sort of developed their own sort of council kind of system. So, yeah, I suppose that's the main overarching story. I mean, what did you think of all that?
Well, I love Jez Corden, Goblin Public Defender. This was one of the greatest shows that they've never put on Law and Order yet. So that's got to be coming soon.
Yeah, not bad.
I am with you on, like, unless I see a bloody trail, basically, I'm not convinced that anybody's dead.
Yeah, I just don't trust Blizzard at all.
They literally blew my guy up. Like, there's no doubt that Varia died because they blew him into smithereens. He's a puff of smoke. Gallywix, I don't know. Like, he got fell on. I've seen worse. That's a scratch. Like, I don't know. But for now, right? And the raid, Gazlo tries to give him a chance. The thing falls on him. All right, we'll move on. We had a nice moment after that because there's always a little bit of an epilogue. We had a nice moment, I thought, after that with Gazlo and Shaw. They have Renzic's ashes because he, gave his life trying to save Undermine, and they go back to this lighthouse in Westfall, and they're getting his little bits and bobs that are scattered about. You kind of learn a little bit more about the relationship there. And I thought that was really touching. That was really nice. And I'm like, man, again, I'm surprised that I'm feeling the feelings I am about this whole goblin situation. But I am. But the thing that was kind of eating at me was, so we just had this, this braid, and I did the story mode, and I, killed the guy, and I saw the little thing, and the mech fell on the guy, and where's my cinematic? Like, where's the big story? Where's Alatat? Like, what happened? And we didn't get any of that. So I'm playing through these epilogue quests. I'm like, oh, well, okay, all right, this is fun, but I'm still kind of wondering what in the fuck. And then we finally get to it. Then we finally get to the point at the end of the quest line where we do get one of those nice cinematics where they're showing what's going on with the story. And that's where Gazlo, as part of the overarching I don't know, like old school Hollywood, PI murder mystery gangster film. Like he's doing the voiceover talking about, what we're gonna do, and Undermine is this, and we have to be the ones, we have to be the people. I thought it was kind of funny that he referenced to themselves as people. That seems like more of a human term, but be that as it may, that they have to be the ones to make the change and Undermine. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. And then boom, puffs a purple smoke, and here we are seeing, I guess this is Phase Thief Vizier with the Dark Heart, and he's looking at, everybody seems to think that this is Koresh, and they're just standing there, and they're looking at the Dark Heart, and they're looking at this big giant swirly purpley blob in the middle of what looks like to be a destroyed planet. And I'm like, okay, now this is what I'm looking for. Now this is the jam. Now this is the hint at what's coming next, and keeps that breadcrumb trail going. And we know that the void, ethereals, all of that mishmash is coming somehow, somewhere, because we've all seen the stuff from Midnight, and they've told us that things are going to get really dark. So we know that some point that's going to happen. So the lead in its totality, I really enjoyed. Didn't leave us hanging. Obviously it's a tease, but didn't leave us hanging in terms of expectation of, all right, we've wrapped this up. There's going to be continued stories here in Undermine, but for like the main journey, we've done what we need to do here. We've saved Undermine, so to speak, and now we know this next stage of the threat is coming. And whoever these ethereals are, to your point, they're not working with Xalatath, because Xalatath was like, what the fuck, you gave that away? Like, I don't know, that's not me, I don't know who that is. Clearly there was some miscommunication. So now it sets up this sort of like weird three-way, potentially, like is this a three-way match where you have Xalatath in one corner, you have us in another, and then you've got the ethereals over here, and everybody kind of having different expectations, needs, wants, and desires. So that sets up a very interesting dynamic, depending on what is it that the ethereals want. To your point, are they looking for revenge on Xalatath, Void Lords? Like, is that the angle that you think they're gonna take?
I have literally no idea. I mean, I suppose if it's Koresh, then yeah, but the dude was kind of laughing in a sort of sinister way, so maybe they've got bigger aspirations. Like, maybe it's just like, yeah, we'll kill Xalatath or the Void Lords or whatever, and then take over the galaxy. Because the ethereals have always been this sort of like, I don't know, mysterious race. I think they were introduced in the Burning Crusade, right?
Yeah.
So they've got some sort of link to the Twisting Nether.
Mm-hmm.
And the Twisting Nether is like really the only sort of major area where we haven't really been to as characters yet. I mean, we've been on the edge of it, we've traveled through it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Outland is sinking into it. And Outland's probably my favorite zone in WoW lore, and part of that's nostalgia. When I was a kid playing Warcraft 3, and it was like, first time you go to Outland, it's like, oh my god, this is crazy,
Yeah.
And then like, first time you got Outland in WoW, it was like that again. It was like, this is crazy. Hellfire Peninsula, that epic alien kind of music hitting you in the face, and then you turn around and the dark portal's like 1,000 times bigger on the other side, like all the space dilation, space-time bullshit. I don't know, it was just cool as hell, right? So my dream, one of my imagined expansions would be like return to Outland, and like Outland has sort of sunk further into the Twisting Nether, and then it's like half of the expansion is like remade bits of Outland, and then the other half of the expansion is like we sort of inside the actual Nether itself or something. I don't know, but or like some other planet that's in the Nether, and maybe visit ethereals or something like that. So I do kind of feel like maybe potentially they are exploring building up the ethereals to be a bigger player in this sort of story arc, maybe as part of, you know, leading us to an expansion where they're a big nasty or something like that. Because one of the things you have to assume is they are thinking, you know, with Chris Metzen back on board, and they are thinking super long term now with WoW. Like, I think like they're talking about in my interview with Johanna Faries, the Blizzard president. She was talking about, like, I can't remember if I'm paraphrasing here. It was either her or someone else in another interview, but they literally said, like, maybe it was Holly Longdale actually in that blog post, and I'm misremembering. But someone somewhere at some point from Blizzard said something like, we're thinking about the next 20 years of World of Warcraft, you know.
Holly
What's
has said
the next
that.
20?
Ian has said, like, a bunch of them have said that. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, if a bunch of them have said that again, yeah, it's exactly like that. It's like, they are truly, well and truly thinking of the next 20 years. And I think, like, one of the weird things that, the weird corners that Final Fantasy XIV has found itself in, they've kind of killed off all their villains. So, like, without establishing any new ones. Like, a friend of mine was telling me about this. Like, they had this huge epic storyline with their equivalent of the Void Lords, you know. And now they've sort of like, oh shit, like, what do we do now, kind of thing, right?
Ooh.
And Final Fantasy is sort of like, I don't know. They're coming. Final Fantasy XIV is like the only real credible alternative to WoW, and they've like so they've got like a huge amount of challenges that WoW potentially doesn't have, you know. Like, WoW has like all this established lore to draw upon, whereas like Final Fantasy XIV has to sort of develop its story as it's kind of going, right? Because they have like no real reference material. Obviously they can draw upon Final Fantasy entities from past games and stuff like that, but it's not like having the tens of thousands of years of established lore that World of Warcraft has, right? And also factions they can draw upon, and factions they can bring from out of obscurity to play a bigger role in the story. So I kind of feel like that's where they're going with the Ethereals to some degree, where it's like, okay, the Ethereals are ready to step up and take a more centralized role in the story. Maybe they even have a full expansion dedicated to them, you know, maybe even a story arc dedicated to them, because you have to presume like there must have a fairly big society playing off in the background in the Nether or wherever they still exist, because there's always like been these huge ethereal cartels popping up in random expansions here and there, you know. So I think maybe this is the first salvo in establishing them as a potentially bigger, at least this faction at least, a bigger antagonist to kind of threat maybe ahead of like a future expansion even after this trilogy that we're seeing play out now.
Yeah.
But I do want to correct myself. I said that Rosebud Galliwix was taking over the Gladio, but I've just seen that he gets assassinated. So yeah, it's apparently not him. Sorry about that. I'm still playing through the epilogue at the moment. And but yeah, but that's the thing. It's really interesting. Like, the twisted turds are like a breakneck speed. Like, what are the Ethereals angle? Like, you know, the Ethereals in this canon, they first popped up in Shadowlands, which is crazy, you know. In the what's it called now? What was that raid called now? The raid of the first ones or whatever.
Sanctum of the first ones.
Something like that, yeah. I kind of want to put that out of my mind, but one of the bosses was an ethereal agent, and then that ethereal agent pops up again in another raid and another dungeon, and it's kind of like they're not exactly working for the people in the raid. They're just there for studying the Horde and the Alliance and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's weird, man. It's like, what are they up to exactly? They don't really know, you know. They're kind of like they've got an agenda. We just don't know what it is, and it's clearly something that they've been working on for quite a while, you know. So it's kind of cool watching that play out in real time. I'm really intrigued to see where it all goes.
Yeah, and it might be a situation where, you know, like a lot of the other, or every other race, I think, we cannot necessarily attribute the actions of an individual or a couple of individuals to the whole crew. So you might have, right, different little cells within the ethereal world where it's like, okay, this group wants this thing, this group wants this thing, this is what these guys are doing. And if we are going to dive right into that sort of the mythology of the ethereals, we probably will see a lot of that explored. And to your point about the next couple decades worth of planning, I mean, they talked about, I think it was Metzen when he was on that one quick interview with Scott Johnson. I think that's where they mentioned, you know, they're talking about their plans up through the 17th you know, patch 17. So that's, you know, whatever the 16th expansion, you know, so another 6 beyond where we are right now. So there clearly it's a long-term planning situation that they've got. And yes, seeing the ethereals more prominent, right? It gets a lot of things spinning up, and we're thinking about what's going to be next. But surprising to me, they have already dropped, Blizzard has, their preview for patch 11.1.5 Nightfall scenario. We saw it on the map, the roadmap for 2025. And they did release some information about it. 3 components of this little mini sub half patch, whatever we're calling these things. The first is defending the Arathi in the Nightfall scenario. We're going to come across a new faction, Flames Radiance, where we'll have 10 more renown levels to unlock there and a whole bunch of stuff. And we'll be fighting against Queen Ansarek's former forces, I guess. One of the other, the second thing that they mention here, which I don't recall seeing before, something they're calling dastardly duos, where you can take on, quote, animatronic versions of past bosses in a sort of a special setup that they're gonna have, where you can get power-ups and do different things, and you'll be able to take on, I guess, 2 bosses at a time, and you can earn rewards. And haven't seen that yet, but that sounds kind of fun. The other is horrific visions, and I don't ever need to see one of those ever again. I did not enjoy them when they happened. They were scary. I always felt like I was running out of time. All of my sort of anxious energy just got the better of me. So I only did them when the homie Rommel was helping me out, because I did not like doing them. I think we had to do them to upgrade the cape or something, but I was like, nah, I am not about this life with these horrific visions. But these 3 components are what they've announced as part of patch 11.1.5. And if the PTR calendar, in-game calendar, is to be believed, May 20th appears to be a date for this. So given that this is March, middle of March, yeah, that probably times out to be right. But have you taken a look at this all, Jez? Does any of this sound interesting to you? Because you may have mentioned to me earlier that you enjoyed the horrific visions, and I can't believe that that's true.
Dude, I love horrific visions.
Oh no.
And not just that, but the enchants they gave you, because like I think that's what I'm perhaps more excited about, is like the horrific vision, the enchants you got from that whole system, which they're bringing back as well. They were hugely fun as a warlock, so I'm looking forward to that, I suppose, to some degree. But I liked horrific visions, man. Like,
yeah,
anything old gaudy, I kind of like the goblins, I kind of dig it.
I could see that.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm down for that stuff. I haven't actually seen the preview myself yet, so
it's just a blog post. There's no videos or anything yet, as far as I've seen. It's just, hey, it's coming now that the main story of Undermine has been concluded, and you're probably wondering what's next, and we got to keep hitting these markers. But yeah, they go into some detail about what the Nightfall scenarios are going to be like, a little bit more detail about what this duo fight situation is going to be, and then of course we know what horrific visions are. They've been around, but that sounds like that could be make for some interesting times between here and there. But that is where we are right now in terms of our story, in terms of where we're going on the nearest horizon. chugging along as they have been, as they continue to do. I think both Jez and I are very positive, very high on this patch, and they have clearly done not just a good job, but there's a lot of love that and time and effort and energy that they put into Undermine as a zone and this whole situation. Like I spoke earlier about RoboDoc being a love letter to RoboCop. Undermine and this zone it's not just a love letter to goblins, it's a love letter to Warcraft. Like this is a lot of the fun stuff that we enjoy. It's got a little bit of zaniness, a little bit of sadness, some triumph. Like it's got everything. And for somebody who was not about the goblins, you turned me around. At least for this. This was well done. And kudos to Team 2 and everybody over there. They absolutely crushed it. And the challenge with raising the bar is you got to keep meeting that bar. But if they think they can keep meeting this bar of content, then we are in for some fucking high times on the high seas. So looking forward to more of that. But Jez, I think I've buried the lead, really. I haven't mentioned really anything about this thus far, but the biggest announcement that could have possibly ever been made was made just a few days ago when, lo and behold, BlizzCon will be making a comeback September 12th through 13th of 2026. It's a Saturday and a Sunday. It's not a Friday and a Saturday this time. So if you're looking for your hotel reservations, the hotels don't usually open up until it's within a year. So we're way out. So if you're seeing that it's all booked up, it's not booked up. They just don't have those available yet. So don't freak out. But Mr. Corden, I was pretty surprised. Were you surprised as well?
I was truly surprised. I think when they initially announced that BlizzCon was taking a hiatus, I was kind of cynically thinking Microsoft ain't gonna bring that back, And one of the things I know Microsoft's acquired a lot of companies, right? They've acquired ZeniMax, they've acquired. Sorry, I'm choking. 1 second.
You're good.
Okay, there we go. They've acquired ZeniMax, who make Doom and Elder Scrolls and Fallout and all that kind of stuff. And they've also acquired, Obsidian, and who make Pillars and Avowed, which is on Battle.net, strangely, by the way. So they've acquired a ton of studios, and my mentality was cynically speaking, Microsoft isn't really a company that does community. And they've never really done community. They're terrible at understanding community and developing, or at least seeing the value in having a sort of fan base. They've never bothered with that kind of stuff. They've always been investor first, go where the money is kind of company, right? Which to their detriment, I kind of feel like. But that's how the current regime feels, right? So, and this is speaking at a Microsoft, all the way up to Satya Nadella, the CEO. Not necessarily Xbox itself, just Microsoft as in general. So one of the things I do know about Blizzard is that it's extremely expensive to put on. Every year, people complain about the ticket prices.
That's
but
what you've said.
Yeah, they are not making any profit on BlizzCon. Yeah. BlizzCon is almost 100% an event for the devs, for the fans, and for the community. It's a community event, right? Now, obviously, I think we can really easily understand the value of having that kind of event if you're a gaming company. The value of having an event that celebrates your community absolutely has benefits for the games you make. If people love the company and love the games, then you'll make more money. So it's kind of what I would see as a loss leader, right? However, the bean counters at Microsoft almost certainly don't see it that way, and they'll look at it how can we determine this value in a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet? And I would say it's probably quite hard to pull that off,
Yeah.
So cynically, I was thinking there ain't no way they're gonna bring BlizzCon back, because I know it's really expensive. It's something they can easily save money on. And Microsoft just invested $80 billion $72 billion in this company. This is exactly the kind of thing that they would want to cut in order to save costs. And maybe they bring it back like in the long-term future when they've made some of their money back, or they've realized that, okay, everyone, not being able to celebrate Blizzard's actually hurt the company or something. Like, it would take being able to demonstrate in a spreadsheet that BlizzCon is important to bring it back. So I was really cynical about that not coming back. And then a few weeks ago, I heard from source that BlizzCon is indeed coming back properly in full. And then we got confirmation from Blizzard PR not long after that. And I was just kind of stunned. I was like, I was thinking, okay, they're bringing it back, but it's going to be a digital event or some bullshit. They're like, nope, we're bringing it back, and not only are we bringing it back, we're investing more than ever into it. We're bringing it back in a big way.
Ooh.
So like they're talking about up leveling every aspect of the show, improving like the ticketing systems and just delivering higher quality and spending more money on it than they ever have before. They don't just want to bring it back. They want to bring it back in a big way, like in a Blizzard kind of like, let's raise the bar kind of way, right?
Ooh.
So I think that's just beyond anything I would have expected from Microsoft. Because at the end of the day, like, I know Blizzard's an independent within Microsoft, and like all the subsidiaries at Xbox, like Obsidian and ZeniMax, no matter how big they are, they all want to feel like they're independent of Microsoft. And I'm sure if Satya Nadella said to Phil Spencer, who leads Xbox, he's like, you've got to make Blizzard save, I don't know, this many millions of dollars this quarter. I'm pretty sure that BlizzCon would be something that Microsoft could say, you ain't doing that. It's a waste of money. But it does seem like, from my interview with Johanna Faries, which you can read on windowscentral.com, Microsoft's giving Blizzard a long leash, a much longer leash than Activision did. They're giving Blizzard the sort of independence to determine their own destiny and deliver their targets in a way that they know to be best for Blizzard and Blizzard's community. That's kind of like how I feel about this. The fact that BlizzCon's coming back is that Microsoft's giving them a long leash, which, as a fan of Warcraft and all of Blizzard's other games, that is just like music to my ears. Like, there's another part of this. Heroes of the Storm has had more patches and more support than it's had in years and years and years and years. And I kind of feel, again, that's kind of like Blizzard being like, okay, Activision's no longer around, and Blizzard and Microsoft's letting us do what we want. Sorry.
Yeah.
We're going to invest a bit in Heroes of the Storm again. And it's like, there was a balanced patch for Heroes of the Storm last week, and then before then there was a balanced, I think it's almost like monthly patches for Heroes of the Storm lately. Or near monthly. So it's like, damn, this is kind of like Blizzard getting back to its roots in a way. So I'm like, as excited as I am for BlizzCon, and I am gonna go somehow. By hook or by crook, I'm gonna go.
There we
so
go.
We'll hang out.
That's the real news.
Yeah. The as exciting as BlizzCon coming back is, like, the symbolism for me as a Microsoft reporter / analyst, the symbolism for me is like a symbol of an independent Blizzard. This is something we've not had for years, maybe since Activision took over.
Yeah.
I wrote an article in 2016. I think it was 2016, like really early on in my career, and it was something like, Activision is finally devouring Blizzard, something like that it was called. And it was kind of like the premise of the article was like, I can't remember exactly what it was, but something happened at the time where it was like, this is more of an Activision decision rather than a Blizzard decision. Like, you could just feel that quality slipping, that nickel and diming happening, and the quality bar sort of gradually trending down. And it was just kind of like, this is Activision's doing. But I feel like we are definitively getting away from that now, and it's so exciting to be able to say that.
Yeah, we've
That's
been
my
waiting.
speech. That's my
Oh,
speech.
we've been, bravo. That is something that we've talked about for years and years, is the independence of Blizzard, or lack thereof, the effects of that, how we felt it downstream, like all of these things. And maybe I was leeching some of your cynicism, because I too was believing that we would never see our beloved convention ever again. And so this announcement, it's confusing almost in a way, because I'm like, man, I thought it was gone, and now it's back, and I've got all this time to plan and kind of figure things out and try to get down there. And the Jez Taco extravaganza dream is still alive, and it's just like, man, what do I do with all this now? The question that I then have, and I think this is where I feel a little mixed, which might surprise a few people, is, will this be the last hurrah for BlizzCon, or is this just going to be kind of a semi-regular thing now, or is this back full time, or we just don't know? Do you have a sense at all?
If I had to guess, right, I think what they're probably going to do with BlizzCon, because development timelines have become stretched. Like back in the day, like I saw a meme. There's a famous meme, image macro kind of thing, where it's like, it shows Rockstar's development pipeline over like a couple of decades, and it was like Rockstar in the early 2000s, in a decade, released like a dozen games, and then in the most recent decade they released Red Dead Redemption 2, and that's it. Yeah. So it's like over time, like it's gotten to a point where development timelines are really slow. Like I remember when Diablo 4 was announced, they were like, yeah, we want to do yearly expansions, but it's looking like the next Diablo expansion is going to be closer to 2 years in development than 1 year. Mm-hmm. So it's like games take longer to make, and people have bigger expectations about what they want out of games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So and Blizzard, even before games took a long time to make, Blizzard was kind of notoriously one of the companies where it was like, we'll release it when it's ready. That was like the whole thing. It was a meme.
That was the mantra.
That was the mantras. But they had a lot more games to talk about back then. With Heroes of the Storm, and then StarCraft, having patches, and then there was Diablo 3 having patches, and World of Warcraft, and they had more games ongoing. And these days they've kind of like, they've got their mobile games, which I don't think the BlizzCon audience appreciates very much.
Yeah.
And I think they've learned their lesson on that one. So like they probably will talk about mobile a little bit. Obviously people pretend they hate mobile games, but these games have like a lot of players, so it's kind of like they want to do right by them too, and the teams who work there deserve to be able to show their work. So Warcraft Rumble's a good game too, So, yeah. And Hearthstone too. So, there will be a bit of mobile stuff to talk about, but I think what my belief is right now, and again, this is potentially some cynicism, is they'll maybe give a couple of years. They'll do BlizzCon semi-regularly on the basis of the fact that they're probably just waiting to have like significant things to announce. So, for me, the 2026 date kind of hints at like they've got major things to talk about. Whether it's like I would presume Midnight's out by then, so maybe it's like,
I assume this is Last Titan.
Yeah, so either this is going to be like a significant patch for Midnight or Last Titan reveal, and then you've got like, will the Diablo expansion be out by then? Probably. So maybe it's the Diablo expansion after the next one. And then we've also got like the dead franchises, like dormant franchises like StarCraft. I want to believe that there's a StarCraft
Thank you for asking Johanna Faries about StarCraft, by the way, and telling your audience that while she declined to answer anything in development, she gave you a quote knowing smile. Thank you.
Yeah, she knows. So.
My man.
The rumor is that, and I think Jason Schreier at Bloomberg put this out there, is that there's some kind of StarCraft shooter in development right now.
Yeah.
That's sort of like, it's the lead developer is the architect of the Far Cry franchise.
Oh.
So, you know, if you've enjoyed Far Cry in the past, Far Cry open world single player kind of StarCraft shooter might be
cool
in the future, you know. But I think what people really want is StarCraft 3. The question there is though, like, the development team on StarCraft is scattered to the winds.
Yeah, so, they're over making other games. They started their own studios and stuff.
Started their own studios and stuff. So, you know, what does that look like? Do they make a new team? Do they hire a third-party team? Because, you know, Microsoft has an internal RTS team that's making Age of Empires, which is, you know, the biggest RTS in the world right now, I think. Doing very well still after all these years. Age of Empires 2 is kind of crazy. So, you know, maybe there's some kind of link up there, you know, or, you know, you get Relic involved to work on it, because Relic Entertainment worked on Age of Empires 4. You know, there are ways around the StarCraft 3 problem. So I do kind of feel like maybe this is going to be part of a bigger set of announcements. You know, there's also maybe new IP. Maybe they're working on new IP. You know, maybe they're doing something completely new out of left field, and you know, who knows what they could be doing. You know, one thing I do know is Microsoft's like, I think Microsoft acknowledges the fact that Blizzard's like a crown jewel within their stable now. You know, it's like ZeniMax, Blizzard, Call of Duty, and like while Microsoft sort of not handled some of their own franchises like Halo the best, you know, they kind of think like, we'll be hands off, we'll not fuck up Blizzard, we'll let them cook, right?
Yeah.
So I do kind of feel like this BlizzCon's there's going to be major announcements, and if I had to guess, it probably won't be an annual event anymore, just because of how long development timelines are. But I think that's fine, personally. I'd rather have a BlizzCon that was a huge blowout with really cool announcements than one that feels kind of forced and like doesn't have huge announcements. But I don't know. I'm just happy it's coming back. I'm really happy, because this is a bucket list thing for me, man. I thought I wasn't going to be able to see it. I always say to myself like, oh man, I never saw Nirvana live. You know, and some of these bands, right? And it's kind of felt like that with BlizzCon. It's like, I'm never gonna be able to go to a BlizzCon, but second chance, right? Second chance.
We got to make it happen somehow, some way, whatever it takes. We'll get you here under the West Coast, down in Southern California. We'll get something going for you. And yeah, the announcement, kind of to your point, it speaks to the usual stuff: opening ceremony, in-depth panels, Dark Moon Fair, friendly competition, hands-on gameplay, and more. We aim to meaningfully elevate this iconic celebration and create an unforgettable experience for all to take part in it. And I think this may speak to something that I did note on the last one back in 2023, is that while all of the announcements that happened, like being there for Metzen and the World Soul Saga and the cinematic and like all that stuff, it was mind-blowing and it was so awesome, and I was so happy to be there, and that was all great. The event itself, like the halls themselves, were a little lacking. Like there was not actually a whole lot to do when you were there. There were huge open spaces with nothing, and there was a complete lack of seating, mind you. And so everybody was like sitting on the floors and like all kinds of stuff. So, you know, you could see where very easily, if they had the ability to spend more money, that there's more that you can do here to really amp this up and get people excited. And, you know, everything's, I mean, you know better than I do, is social media drives so much now. And so when you have your influencers and you have your, I don't know, content creators, if that's us, or you have people that are putting those little snippets out there on social media showing this, that, and this thing, and this guy's over here, and this interview's going on, and this tidbit over here, like that drives that interest and that engagement and everything else. And so the more that you have there on the BlizzCon floor, the more of that you're going to get. So having filled out one of the surveys post BlizzCon and telling them, it was a little lacking, it's nice to see that. So hopefully 2026 rolls around, September, that you'll be there, that I'll be there, the homie Rommel's going to come with me. We'll have all the usual cast of characters down there. The Viking dog food truck had better fucking be there this time, because at the very least, we're gonna get you tacos, Jez, but then the Viking dog has got to be there because I got to show you that too. Now I get to be your tour guide, even though I don't live in that part of the state. So this is my responsibility as a California taxpayer, is I got to show you around. And I know you've been down there before, but nonetheless, you need a chaperone. So I'm volunteering. That's really what's happening here.
Definitely do, man.
So that's your big announcements for BlizzCon, September 12th and 13th, 2026. Put those vacation requests in now. Block that shit out on your calendar before something else happens. And, of course, we'll keep folks posted on that. Two more items here before we take off. The first, Jez has already mentioned this a couple of times. We have got to be, this podcast here, Unshackled Fury, has got to be the quietest corner of the Warcraft universe, where one of the hosts of a podcast could interview the president of Blizzard and nobody knows. It is comical to me that some of our outlets, let's say, within the content creator community, either didn't pick this up at all, or if they did, they only tangentially attributed it to Windows Central, never to you, Jez, and certainly never to this World of Warcraft podcast. So as somebody, the only one within the Warcraft content creator community that I'm aware of that's gotten to interview Johanna Faries up close and personal, you got to see her, talk to her, ask her a bunch of questions. It was a great interview, by the way, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass because you're my homie and co-host. Great interview, awesome questions. I think you really ran the gamut on that, and people should go to Windows Central, go check out this interview. There's a lot of great tidbits in there. But for you, Jez, for somebody who got to do the deal yourself, any highlights from that interview that you want to give to the folks here?
Well, it was Johanna Faries' first ever press interview, so I was super honored to have had that opportunity. So shout out to her and Blizzard for setting that up for us. But yeah, with Johanna Faries, she's been in the job for a year now, and when I was doing research for my interview and figure out what questions I wanted to ask and things I wanted to talk about, I learned a lot about her that I didn't know previously. Like, she worked in the NFL, in sort of like doing a load of different roles, and like you have to think like sports and gaming kind of has quite a lot of overlap in a sense, because it's like it's entertainment, but it's also kind of like you know a lot about, you get like your super fans who want to know everything beyond the entertainment too, right? like in sports, and you also get like your little factions, and there's merchandising, and all the press stuff you have to do. So it's kind of like quite a lot of overlap, and also like on the technological aspects too. There's like overlap with regards to technology and also that kind of stuff. But gaming is obviously like the zenith of that intersection between technology, entertainment, and then community, right? So in a way, like, I mean, I'm biased as a gaming fan, but I kind of feel like gaming is the next level. Like, if you're a careerist in that kind of universe, like you got like going from sports to gaming, I kind of feel like gaming's like the next level of that, because now it's like the hyper cutting edge of technology, and the communities are so like rabid, and gaming's so ubiquitous. Like, everyone games, even if they don't consider themselves to be a gamer. Like, everyone plays Candy Crush, everyone plays mobile games, like, and like they might never refer to themselves as a gamer, right? It's just ubiquitous now, and obviously gaming's a much bigger industry overall than sports, potentially, especially the NFL, which no one cares about the NFL out of America. Sorry Americans.
I mean, you're not wrong. We're trying to make it work in Europe, but I don't know how that's going.
Yeah, not very well. But anyways, so it's she's kind of like the perfect kind of person to come with a layer of expertise that I think is obviously very important for that kind of role, but also as someone who is a lifelong gamer, and she described to me how she grew up in an environment where her and her family were always playing games. Like, even though like she ended up in a sports career, gaming was always there for her, and she always saw it as just something that she did, right? So this kind of perfect subset of expertise there that we've got now at Blizzard for delivering that kind of stuff. But I think at the same time, the fact that she was an outsider, she described how like she didn't do any press for so long because she felt like she had to earn her place within Blizzard to some degree before wanting to put herself out there, which I think again shows a lot of emotional intelligence, and also humbleness to some degree. The fact that she waited this long to actually start to make her mark publicly, I think it shows some of the right mentality to have too, and sort of respect for this very established, very classic team, and this community, which we've all been a part of for so many years, decades in some cases. She spoke to that too. So like there wasn't a lot of I think the reason why a lot of outlets didn't pick this up was because there wasn't much news in there for gaming. This was very much a profile of Johanna, and just sort of like analytically learning where Blizzard's going, like from a sort of a strategic perspective, right? And I think like you can learn a lot about the current landscape of Blizzard by reading this interview. The fact that she was so visibly excited about where Blizzard's going, and the fact she was so visibly sort of like thoughtful about her replies and her answers, and and wanting to shout out the teams there and all that kind of stuff, right? I think it was really great to get that kind of insight. And as someone who has really, and I think I'm not alone here by saying this, that as someone who's like for a long time not been super excited about Blizzard's direction, like all the scandals under Kotick, all the sort of weird decisions like Overwatch 2, 5v5, and going free to play, and then announcing all these features that get cancelled, all that kind of weird stuff that happened under Kotick that felt like corporate disruption to some degree. Like, to see all this like come full circle now, and we have someone who can bring an outside perspective but also very, very much respect the business, someone who has a clean slate, because obviously there was Mike Ibarra too, who I think was very good for the job, but Mike has a lot of potentially not positive history with Xbox, so I kind of feel like that might have been untenable for Microsoft. Microsoft knows what Mike's like. Mike Ibarra is a hardcore sort of, he's like a Microsoft OG, right? And they clearly very passionately felt like he wasn't the right person for the job. So they kind of went sideways and looked for someone from the outside. So someone who can bring an outside perspective as a fan, but also knows how to deliver for what the community wants, and also what the developers need in order to do their job at the next level, without that kind of baggage that unfortunately I think Mike potentially brought to the table with Microsoft, fair or not, I think it's unfortunate with Mike. I know Mike and I like Mike a lot, but it's clear that something wasn't going to happen there from Microsoft's perspective. I don't know the full story on that, but maybe one day it'll come out. But cause I know Mike loved Blizzard too. That was his dream job, was to to work at Blizzard and run Blizzard. Like, Mike's a hardcore World of Warcraft player, all that kind of stuff, like super hardcore, like Mythic Raider, legitimate hardcore gamer. So it was a shame in a way, especially after seeing Mike and Phil shake hands at BlizzCon. I was like, oh man, it's all going to be great. But yeah, so I wasn't sure about what Johanna would bring to the table. obviously, like, I was unfamiliar with it before the interview, but I think you can learn a lot from the interview about Johanna's mentality and the direction of Blizzard, and there's just the sense that they are kind of more independent again than ever. Even though they are under Microsoft, they're no longer like directly answerable to shareholders. And one thing that I do think Xbox does very well is shield their studios from shareholder shenanigans, because Microsoft shareholders, they don't give a shit about gaming. I mean, they're more interested in it now. They've spent $80 billion on it.
Yeah.
But 80 billion total if we count ZeniMax as well, by the way. That's where that figure comes from. But they're more interested in it now. Microsoft invested so much into the company. But really what the shareholders are interested in is cloud, AI, and Azure and Office. They don't really give a shit about gaming. So like when you see Microsoft come out here and say things like, last week Microsoft was like, oh yeah, we're going to put a ChatGPT assistant into Xbox, right? That's really for shareholders, you know. It's they know people ain't gonna probably use it that much, and it's just kind of like, yeah, this will keep the shareholders happy while we do our own thing, right? So Blizzard's flying under the radar in a way that they haven't been able to under Activision, and sort of gain their independence back. And I think that's what makes me so excited about this interview. It was so clear to me from the way she was describing it. So. Yeah, go read it if you got time. It was a fun interview. She's an awesome person.
Well, that's great to hear, and I know that there were a lot of questions when she came in, like, who is this person? You know, like you mentioned, the outsider, right? Who is she? What's her jam? Like, what's going on? And she very deliberately, I remember saying that, like, I'm going to be listening. I'm going to be paying attention and not talking. Like, I'm not going to be out here, like you mentioned. This is the first interview in all of this time. She's been doing exactly what she said she was doing, it looks like. Certainly sounds like. So that is a lot of, again, positive momentum, I think, for us, the franchises we love. And as I mentioned, it's a wonderful read. It's a great interview. Well done, sir. So if you haven't seen that out there yet, folks, this is our man Jez Gordon over on Windows Central. I spoke to Blizzard Entertainment President Johanna Faries on her first year in the job, how Blizzard games like Warcraft and Overwatch are reaching for greater heights. Good shit. Look at that. Nice press photo. We got to get Jez's photo next, right there, as chief interviewer. That'd be great. All right. We have I had a couple more things on the list here, but I do want to be sensitive to time here. So real quick, all in all, March trading post.
It's all right. Like,
there you go. Pick whichever item you like for whatever cost, and that's
it's
what I got for you.
I saw some complaints about it being a bit frilly and girly and stuff like that, but then I saw like women in the comments on Reddit pushing back, like, no, this is exactly what I wanted, you know. So it's like, you know, it's not for me, but you know,
something for everybody.
It takes all sorts, right?
That's right. It takes all sorts. So there you go on that one. Very, very last item. Our one question. We'll do a Q&A, ending with our Q&A. We do have one question. It's a good one. You know, I love that we're focusing on this player housing. We'll talk about the interior design blog next episode, because we do want to spend some time talking about that, because spoiler alert on that one, I think I'm turning around on this whole player housing thing, where maybe it's okay. And it's questions like these that make me think this. All right. This comes from Tetsemi in our Discord. Housing. You get to put in the lazy boy recliner of your choice. Do you go big and copy the Lich King, borrow Stormwind's throne design, or go for extra comfort and just get one of those oversized bean bags a family of 4 could live in? What say you, Jez?
What's a lazy boy?
I love this. I love this question because it clearly shows the divide from coast to coast here. A lazy boy is a brand of reclining chairs that are known for being like very plush and comfortable, and it's kind of like old man recliner with like the feet kick out underneath, and you can just like, you know, fully lay out.
I need one of those. Sounds good.
As an enjoyer of a Lazy Boy recliner in my home, which yes, I do have one, and I had one. This is a little bit. I don't know if this is a flex, but I had one custom made, so it looks and feels exactly like I wanted it to. Comfort is king. You know, the Stormwind Throne, it does not look comfortable. The Frozen Throne, it does not look comfortable. And his Berzerker in game is essentially my avatar. Listen, he's getting older. I'm getting older, and I can't sit all day on a wooden seat. That's just I when I go to any local gym where my son is having some sort of sporting competition, I can't sit in the stands for like more than an hour at a time before my ass hurts like crazy. So is it aesthetic? Yeah, Stormwind Throne is cool or something like that. Hell, even the one they had in Orgrimmar at one point. I don't know if it's still there. You have to tell me. But it was kind of rad. But comfort is king. So if I'm going between the choices laid before me, it's probably going to be an oversized beanbag. But I have a feeling, based on what we've seen, there'll be some nice design choices. But probably, something wooden with a nice set of cushions and whatnot to get me off my feet at the end of a long day of slaughtering whatever it is it delves. That would be my answer. But Jez, a chair or recliner or whatever of your choice in your soon-to-be player housing, what would you be going with?
I don't know, man. Something like that, like armchair. Like one of the things that really I struggle with for real is being comfortable in this bloody chair on my desk. I've got a Secret Lab Minecraft chair at the moment.
Oh,
which is very good, but my desk is too low, so like I feel like I'm slouching my shoulders more than I should be. Like it should be, my desk should be a little bit higher. So maybe the issue isn't the chair so much as the desk I need.
Yeah, raise it up.
Does the Lich King have a desk? I need something like that, maybe.
The Lich King office furniture set.
Yeah, Lich King frozen desk. I don't know. I think I'd probably go for more of a Burning Legion theme. So like a flaming fell desk. That's what I need.
There you go. There it is. Yeah, and we'll talk more next time about the stuff we're seeing with the player housing. But yeah, these are the kinds of questions that we will soon be faced with on a regular basis. All right, I think we've done enough damage for one episode. For those who don't already know, where can the good people find you out on the internet, Jez?
I'm over on windowscentral.com, covering all things gaming over there. But you can find all my social links on jezcorden.com and, all the social media and all the stuff like that. Blue Sky, Twitter, and whatever. Although I don't really use Twitter that much anymore for reasons which we won't get into here. But I am pretty active, at least with sharing news. I'm still active there. So, yeah, come and say hi.
There it is. Thank you, sir, once again for this excellent episode of Cinema, and my thanks to all of you for listening. And remember, you can always follow me and this show on Twitter still at Berzerker Rage and Unshackled_Fury, on Blue Sky at Berzerker and Unshackled Fury, as well as on Twitch at Unshackled Fury and Real Berzerker. You can also join our Discord, links for which are in the profile of the show on Twitter and on our website, unshackledfury.com. Jump in that Discord, ask me some questions, come on. Feel free to contact the show with your questions, comments, or otherwise through any of those resources, or email us at unshackedfuryshow@gmail.com. And you can find this show wherever you get your podcast. So once again, thank you for listening. Remember to keep your swords wet and your banners high, and we'll see you next time. Farewell.